Now, just a trigger warning for our next interview, as we will be discussing matters related to sexual violence.
On the 21st of July 2019, our next guest's whole life changed when she became the victim of a sexual assault. Sharing her story and her fight for justice in her new book, Aftermath, Bláthnaid Raleigh joins us now. Bláthnaid, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. Really appreciate it. And now I know how horrifically difficult this can be sometimes to relive the darkest period of your life. For any of us out there who may not be aware of your story, can you just bring us through it in your own words, what you're comfortable to share with us?
Yeah, so the attack happened in July. I was on my summer holidays from college, going into my final year, and just went on a very typical sort of night out. The arts festival was on in Galway, went down with some friends from home, and we ended up in a pub and having great crack, and then sort of the night continued on to a house party back in an Airbnb, and sort of as the party kind of died down, I ended up being assaulted in the house, and then outside in a garden shed, quite a violent rape with an object took place in a locked garden shed in the back of the house.
God.
You talk about this, and so many people are in these situations. Girls' night out ends up going back to a house party. Things turn sour though.
Yeah.
And you went outside with this person thinking that you have a cigarette, whatever else, but you ended up in a shed.
Yeah.
You were locked in this shed.
Yeah.
And two fellas came down who were part of the party as well, had to let you out.
Yeah.
What was the response whenever they saw you come?
I sort of got a very sort of calm sense about me. I think I was very much aware that I didn't think he was going to let me out of the shed. You know, I thought there's no way he's going to do this and let me just leave. So when the two guys came down for the cigarette, I thought, okay, now's my kind of chance to get out of here. But I just kind of remained really calm at that stage. They weren't aware of what had happened. They weren't aware that anything kind of sinister was going on. And I got into the house and I got up to the bathroom and I realised that I had injuries and I was bleeding and all this, and I thought, I just need to get out of here. I don't care how I get out, but I just need to get out. And I left the house at 5 that morning and just walked. And I was like, I don't care where I end up. It's better than being here.
Yeah. Rape, it's such a black, it's a bleak, it's a brutal word, but it's a word that you did not even initially feel it applied to you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us when that changed or how that changed?
It probably didn't really change until the conviction. I didn't really start to use it. I sort of always felt that I couldn't say that's what happened because it wasn't validated by a court, it wasn't proven, it wasn't, you know, all of these things. Like, I knew that's what had happened that night, but I felt I couldn't accuse somebody of rape unless a court had said that's what happened, because I'd ruined his life. I'd, you know, put this label on somebody and I didn't have the right to do that.
So even though everything that had gone on before that and the 5 years it took between the assault and the court case, you didn't feel that you could actually verbalise that and feel that it happened to you. So after the sexual assault occurred, the rape occurred, let's call it what it is, you met a couple and that really changed the trajectory of how you progressed with your what ultimately led to the conviction of this man.
Yeah, so I was really upset once I left the house. It all kind of dawned on me what was happening, and I sort of got to a shop window and I sat down on a window ledge and I was just devastated. And there was a casino down the road kind of closing. This was maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and this girl came up to me and she was asking me, was I okay? And I just kept saying, I can't find my friends, I don't know where my friends are. And she was kind of like, oh, you're okay, don't worry. And she kind of sat beside me and there was a group of people with her, and this guy kept saying, something's not right here. Like, and he kept saying, I think you need to go to the guards. And I was like, no, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And he kept saying, no, I think you need to go to the guards. Like, we can't bring you home. And am I right in thinking that there's something wrong here? And they walked me to the Garda station. The girl actually stayed with me for my first for the first little while. She stayed with me in the Garda station.
We hear sexual assaults are so much more common than what actually gets reported.
Yeah.
Do you feel that if you hadn't had that support from that couple, those two people, that maybe you might not have reported what went on that night?
Yeah, I'd like to think I would have reported it, but I think the timing of it would probably have been very different. You know, I was so lucky, it was so early. There was so much DNA to gather. There was all of that kind of stuff. You know, everything happened so quick and so timely. And that really gave me confidence then, going to trial and stuff like that, that I knew I had that. But I just think, like, those people will never realise, like, what they actually did for me that night. Not only getting me to somewhere safe, but getting me to that, you know, treatment unit, to getting the crime scene secured for all that evidence and stuff like that. Like, was just massive.
Because, as Tommy said there, the amount of sexual assault that goes on is madly underreported. The amount that is reported that get as far as a trial is minuscule as well, and even in a trial, conviction rates are woefully low as well.
Yeah.
What was the process like for you? Because I know a lot of people I've spoken to over the years, it's like they're being re-traumatised by this process. You're in court and you feel the violation all over again.
Yeah, it's horrific. Like, I waited 5 years for my trial to start, but I kind of always thought, oh, when I get to trial, this will all be over. You know, I was really kind of naive to think that it would just take everything away. But it is, like, horrifically re-traumatising. I often say that I find the court process more traumatising than the attack, because you're confronted with it. Everything that you've blocked out, everything that you've been able to kind of blank away from is now in front of you. That, you know, I watched CCTV of me walking out of that shed that night. You know, it's like watching a horror movie and you're like, oh my God, don't go in there, don't go into that house, you know. I watched it back and I would turn to my family and say, did that look really flirty to you? Did I do something wrong? Could you see how that was misinterpreted? Stuff like that. Like, so it's extremely re-traumatising. Your family are watching all of that as well, you know.
That part of the book actually was really disturbing, because when I read it, and you could nearly hear the screams coming from the page, you're telling yourself, don't go there, don't go in that shed, don't go out there.
Yeah.
A version of you went into that shed and a different, complete person came out.
Yeah.
Moran, the woman that you were, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that sense of grief that I felt and still feel sometimes, you know, like, when really good things happen, I still think sometimes it's just sad, you know, that old life. Like, a lot of things could have turned out the same. My life could have turned out very much the same, but I would have had that choice. You know, a lot of the decisions I've made, a lot of the things I've done has been influenced by what has happened to me and been influenced by what he has done, you know.
The incident happened, you're 21 years of age, it's in July 2019. As you say, it took 5 years to July 2024 when Jonathan Moran was convicted of rape. He was given 9 years in prison. How did you feel when this moment happened, when you found that that was it, what was happening with Jonathan? He was going to jail.
I was over the moon. I finally felt that the system recognised me, that they recognised the cost on my life and what had happened. And at the time with the sentence, I was really happy. You know, 9 years is a really strong sentence in Ireland for a, like, first-time offender, and for an incident in isolation, it's really high. But then it was 8 years, was a year suspended, and then somebody enlightens you that, well, he'll get a third of his sentence reduced automatically, so 6 years. And then all of a sudden you think, well, I've waited 5 to get here.
That was your sentence.
Yeah, and he'll do 6. And then he'll live a normal life, you know, to an extent. And then he's back in, you know, my life.
Did you, in the intervening years, in that 5 years, you're moving in the same circles. Did you meet him? Did you bump into him?
I saw him twice in my local town, and we never spoke or anything like that. He saw me one day in a shopping centre, and he made eye contact and he looked straight through me. Like, my presence didn't bother him. He wasn't afraid of what I was doing. He wasn't afraid of going to court. He was, you know, living his life, and that was it. He didn't see that I was going to do anything.
You talk about him, he will get supports and things while he's in prison.
Yeah.
What supports have you been able to get?
So I've used the Rape Crisis Centre's supports for years, but sort of in the aftermath of the trial was, you know, really hard. I sort of would have quite strong PTSD. And I kind of just felt the support was limited with the rape crisis centre. So I went to try and find other supports, you know, through my GP, through lots of different things. I went privately to a psychiatrist and paid, you know, €800 for a single appointment. I go to CBT therapy.
So you're having to pay for these supports.
Yeah, and it's not even paying for them. That's not the...
Trying to access them is the problem.
Trying to access them, you know, and there's so many people who don't have that support, don't have that family support, don't have all of these things. You know, Johnny Moran gets whatever he needs in prison, but victims are literally just thrown out and just forgotten about. And there's very little support there. There really is.
How are you now?
I'm good. I think the last few months I've really sort of felt my freedom again in life, and I'm getting back to the stuff that I used to love, and I'm getting back to being able to go out and you know, not see the danger in everything. I used to want to protect everybody around me and save everybody and see the worst in situations, whereas now, you know, I can go out. I went to Electric Picnic this year, which is huge, you know.
Massive, yeah.
Huge.
Like you talked there about grieving the old Blathnaid, and you speak a lot about your family, the importance of their support through this time. How difficult has it been for them to see their girl go through? I suppose
they've had that grief, like they've grieved that person as well, and like I said, I think the trial was more traumatizing for them. They now have that imagery of what happened to me. Before it was all little bits of, you know, what I told them. Now they have that imagery of what happened to me, but they're just brilliant. Like, they've picked me up more times than, you know, people are like, oh, you're strong, you're this. I'm not any of those things, because they're the people who've always picked me up.
Yes, you are. I'm telling you, girl, you're a very, very strong woman, and thank you so much for doing what you did, because on behalf of anyone who's ever been victim of a sexual assault, seeing someone actually getting placed in jail because of what they did is massive, and I think is not done enough in this country. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us this morning. And of course, if you've been affected by anything discussed in this segment, please visit virginmediatelevision.ie/helplines. And of course, the book Aftermath is available in all good bookshops now.